Investigative journalist Catherine Herridge, her latest probe is going into the Havana syndrome, and she's getting results. Thanks to her reporting, DNI Tulsi Gabbard is launching a full review into the phenomenon, which affected U.S. officials with a mysterious brain injury that happened all around the world.
Maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I feel like the floodgates have finally opened on this story, and that there is a recognition that these attacks are real, and that our American national security professionals deserve to be taken care of, and they need financial help because many of them will never work again in the future.
So here to break this down for us is Blaze News investigative journalist Steve Baker. So Steve, it's been a minute since we've had you on. I'm excited because this is such an interesting topic, right? Havana syndrome. What can you tell us about it?
Well, it goes back quite a few years, and it is just simply the result of many of our foreign assets. We're talking about State Department officials as well as our intelligence community who are deployed and work overseas, particularly, as the name implies, in Havana, Cuba, where it first came to light. But this was not the only place that these individuals were coming up with these rare and unusual symptoms. They actually call them anomalous health incidences. Let's see if I can say that 3 times real fast. But the point being is that there has been a tremendous amount of investigation on this over the last few years, but the CIA has always denied it. The Department of Defense has always denied that this syndrome exists and that these particular weapons exist. But what we know through our own investigations, as you know, Blaze Media, myself, Joe Hanneman, we have been looking into this for quite some time ourselves, and in a very different way than the actual deployment of this type of weapon that is used long range to affect our foreign assets. But back in May of last year, so literally just 1 year ago, Congress had an open hearing in which 3 expert witnesses told these congressmen, and this was a very, very bipartisan or nonpartisan hearing by both the Republicans and the Democrats, who were genuinely interested in getting to the bottom of this because their constituents on both sides of the political aisle are being harmed by this, and because the government won't recognize that this syndrome exists and that this weapon exists and that these anomalous health incidences are taking place, these people can't get coverage. They can't get help medically. Insurance is not covering it. We're talking about the government's own insurance is not taking care of this. So it's very important. And these witnesses in that open hearing last year actually said over and over again, if you will interview us in a SCIF, in other words, in a private controlled setting, off the record, classified, we can prove to you beyond any shadow of a doubt that these weapons exist. Well, we know through our own investigations in Blaze Media that the entire classification exists. Directed energy weapons are not unknown. Directed energy weapons are used to control crowds. They're used by the military. They're used by local law enforcement. I have actual video from January 6th of what's called an LRAD. This is a sound audio directed energy weapon that is designed specifically to agitate a crowd enough to get them to disperse. It didn't work that day for reasons which we will be talking about and revealing in upcoming stories through the Blaze. But these weapons are, you can see them, the big truck mounted ones, you can see them in demonstration videos by the Department of Defense on YouTube, for instance. They've been around since the 50s. The Russians, who were on the forefront of the development of these weapons, they called them psychotropic and other types of names that they gave to these weapons. But they're both sound and audio, but they're also energy weapons that operate on a microwave level. And their development over the last 70 years have become incredibly complex. They've become miniaturized to the point now where even law enforcement and, well, I should rephrase this. I don't know that law enforcement has access to what our intelligence community and what our Department of Defense is using overseas right now, but they have miniaturized to the point of being useful in a backpack sized weapon, which is quite frightening because of what they can do. It's not exactly the same weapon that Catherine Herridge is covering. It's the same technology, though.
Now, what's astounding about this is Herridge is talking about other countries using this on us. And, there's a lot of people on the right who, frankly, in the beginning of this thought it was a hoax. I mean, State Department, employees are getting sick from some mysterious illness. And so she's saying, no, this is real. These weapons are real, but it's still about other countries possessing them. And it's interesting to me, and I'm proud of the fact that I think we're one of the only, larger outlets that has talked about the reality that we possess these weapons, as you just ran through. Yeah. And what's the reason for that?
Well, first of all, because the CIA doesn't want to admit they exist at all. The CIA has drawn a line in the sand and said they don't exist. And we know that that's just not true. As I said before, you can go on YouTube and see that other larger variations, particularly battlefield versions and even crowd disbursement for protests. These are used domestically. The frightening part of this, though, Matt, is that we now know beyond any shadow of a doubt, and these expert witnesses in front of Congress 1 year ago, you can go on C-SPAN and watch this hearing. They revealed to us that these weapons are not only in possession of Russians, Chinese, Israel, Britain. We've got absolute proof that the British were using these weapons in Ireland against the IRA back in the early 70s. And the technology, as I said, has advanced tremendously since then. And so the CIA won't do it because they don't want to admit that we are doing the same thing. Look, we have taken what the Soviets had when the Soviet Union fell in 1991. Our intelligence community, as well as private contractors, were buying technologies from Soviet engineers and Soviet scientists at the time, which included these particular weapons and this particular technology. With that, we put it on steroids, advanced it. We have better laboratories. We have better science, better ability to produce these things and to miniaturize the technology. And we know beyond any shadow of a doubt, as I said, in this May hearing last year, they revealed that these weapons are being used domestically by not only foreign intelligence services. They're being used in D.C., they're being used around the Virginia area, Maryland, as well as down near where our base of intelligence and military intelligence operations are taking place down in Florida, that they are being used domestically, not only by foreign intelligence services, but by our own government.
Well, you mentioned that they were being used on January 6th. Let's go ahead and move to that. Let's do a little bit of a lightning round, if you will, because we know that Ashli Babbitt's wrongful death lawsuit, they've had a settlement in principle for $30 million for that. So take us through that. What's the latest?
Well, we don't know that it's going to be $30 million. That's what they were asking for in this particular lawsuit. But the details are forthcoming at some point in the near future. This is a very, very interesting story because it's obviously one of the most tragic events that happened that day. It's also the most controversial because, as we saw in the aftermath of this settlement in principle, that the existing chief of the United States Capitol Police, who has announced that he is retiring soon, in days or weeks, we're not exactly sure, but he came out with a blistering letter that was read. He read in or had read in all of the morning roll call briefings to the Capitol Police. They sent it out to the Capitol Police email, and we were able to acquire a copy of it as well. And this letter, I mean, he is absolutely incensed that this, riotous insurrectionist person who was attacking the Capitol and was intending to attack and assault and maybe kill Congress members through the other side of that door in the speaker's lobby where she was shot, that this person is now going to get some sort of reward or settlement from that. But his characterization of the event is absolutely wrong. Now, I know you said that this was a lightning round, so I can go way, way deep into this because it's been one of the most, it's been one of the hardest things for me to deal with over the last 4 years as well. I've been on both sides of this issue over and over again, and if it had not been for the work, frankly, of our own Joe Hanneman, I would not be in the position where I am right now on that story.
What about some of the other people who died that day? Is there any developments in any of those cases?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because in the Catherine Herridge story on the directed energy weapons, she mentions that she's now getting assistance from Tulsi Gabbard's office. Well, I think we're probably at a point right now where I can say that the Blaze Media is also getting assistance from Tulsi Gabbard's. This is the Office of the Director of National Intelligence to assist us specifically in researching and getting to the bottom of what we believe quite possibly happened on January 6th as well with these directed energy weapons. We know from one of our previous stories here at the Blaze that General Milley, in the summer of love, the summer of 2020, actually authorized the deployment of, I quote, sound and heat weapons to be used on the protesters in D.C. in those riots in our capital during that time. So there's no reason to believe that those were suddenly not used in the largest such protest event in the that year or that span of time on January 6, 2021.
All right, let's move on to the fixer, Aaron Black. What do you have on him?
All right. Well, see, this is actually heating up because other people are finally starting to take notice of this. I'm not going to name the particular online influencer because he gets a lot of what he's talking about wrong, but he is getting the message out about Aaron Black, and other people are starting to whisper about this with their outside voices now, and they're beginning to take notice. And we are also getting assistance from Congress and otherwise to begin our look into this particular mysterious person, Aaron Black. And again, go read the Blaze Media special that we did, or that Joe Hanneman and I wrote about Aaron Black, the fixer for Pelosi, who has a long history going back many years, all the way to Occupy Wall Street, of being a professional agitator, professional riot starter, and somebody who actually has bragged and taken credit for creating violence at Trump rallies all the way back in 2016.
It is a fast and often still moving story. I can't believe that it's been this many years, and there are still things to uncover. And we are very grateful that you and also Joe Hanneman are doing that for us here.